And now, every show, I always have a co-host. This is a former storyteller, current storyboard member. Guys, make some noise for Nico Garza.
I'm back again.
You're back.
I'm back again.
Hey, how's it going?
Great.
Yeah.
From sticking to your guns, rising above, and getting things done. One person, you, besides the people in the back who know about standing on business.
Yeah? Oh, like what is my standing on business?
Yeah. What you got?
Ooh, I quit teaching kind of sensationally. No applause? Okay, thanks. No, it's okay. No, I did. A student who was failing some of my classes reported my stand-up Instagram, and I was like, okay, fuck you guys, bye. So I quit. Yeah, that was me. I was like, I'm going to be a stand-up. I'm going to keep doing it. So those of you that don't know, I do stand-up. You can give me money. I have Venmo. But yeah, that's what I do. Thank you. What about you, Nico? How have you stood on your business?
Well, since last season, I've gained some weight, so I've been trying to get into basketball. I know it's been playoffs right now, and Spurs and all that, and they're cool.
Who? Just kidding.
Yeah. But last week I challenged the biggest, blackest dude on the court to, I posted him up, and he fell down to me.
Wow.
So that was my standing on business.
That's assault.
Yeah. He loved it.
Yeah,
Really
yeah.
cool.
Hey, give it up for him. That's pretty cool. How do you post up? Are you just like rawr?
Just like I've been doing really awkwardly on the mic right now.
No, you're doing a great job. Okay, give it up for Nico. We have such a great show for you, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Are you guys ready or what? Hell yeah. All right. The first storyteller is Christina Hinojosa. Christina's going to share a story about a hiking trip that went a little long.
Give it up for Christina Hinojosa.
Hang on. Okay. So it was March 2021, and I was in San Juan National Forest in southern Colorado. It was going to be my first ever backpacking trip. I was at the trailhead with nothing more than a raw cabbage, a sleeping bag, and some hygiene essentials in my oversized backpack. I didn't need much since I was heading to a fully furnished yurt about 3.5 miles away. I had just joined a co-ed scouting group, and I was joined by 2 teenage boys my age, Sam and Logan, Logan's dad, Joe, and Sabrina, a 35-year-old woman. But just a few months ago, or before that, I had been alone. It was early COVID, and I overdosed. My dad found me, and he got me all the help I needed. I had some of those lingering emotions still at the trailhead, but I was there, and that's all that mattered. A blizzard named Xylia had just hit the region, causing about 3 feet of extra snow for a total of 5 to 6 feet, which was crazy. And I was there at the trailhead, a little bit nervous, but I saw a bunch of happy families and groups of people playing, and it was bright and sunny, so I thought everything would be all right. We were given a laminated map to share with directions to the yurt. Rather than having trail names and trail markers like a typical map, this one had rhymes and riddles that we had to solve that would lead us to landmarks that would then guide us to the yurt. A little weird, but okay. We study the map a little bit and find that we need to be heading towards a red car, but with the fresh snow from the blizzard, it was really hard to hike through, and every single possible landmark was covered in a bunch of snow, making it hard to see. A 3.5 mile hike that should have taken maybe 4 to 5 hours max quickly turned into us finding the first landmark after 6 hours. Yeah. Before we knew it, it was already dark, the sun had set, and we did not even find the second landmark. We didn't know what to do, and then Sam, he says, "You guys are too slow. I'm going to go find this yurt on my own." And I'm just like, "No, you're not." And I start following him. I find him on top of this hill, no gloves on, trying to stick his raw fingers into the snow to fix his snowshoe that was falling off. I tell him to stop, I give him my gloves, and then I bend over trying to fix his snowshoe. As I do this, I accidentally drop my trekking poles falling into the snow, but I fix his snowshoe. I then ask him if he can help me up, and he's like, "Sorry, Christina, I have to keep finding this yurt." And he leaves me all alone. So I'm just lying there, And suddenly this night that I thought that I might die became the first night that I really wanted to live. It was so dark, I couldn't even see the moon or the stars or 10 feet ahead of me, and the only sounds I could hear were wolves and hogs in the distance. Even if I managed to get my trekking poles and get up, I had no map, I had no shelter, nothing. I didn't know what to do. I remember hearing as a child that crying doesn't solve anything, but I had no other solution, so I just let it out. I just cry and I cry and I cry, and the tears, they come out of my face and they meet the cold air and it stings my skin, but I don't care. It just keeps going. And I think back to my overdose and how my dad helped me, and I had someone there for me, and how I was all alone this time and I just really needed someone there. And then I heard footsteps, and I look up and I see Logan, Sabrina, and Joe, and they heard me because of how loud I was crying. They helped me up, and then we find Sam nearby, who he didn't make it far, and then we decide we need to go rest. Yeah. After that, we find the circle of trees, we dig a hole, we insulate it with HEB bags that we had, and then we cover it with a bed sheet and we go to bed. And I remember being so scared to fall asleep that night because what if I don't wake up? But before I knew it, the sun was like shining through the bed sheets, and I woke up, and then we all discussed whether we should even keep going. And I don't know what compelled me. I don't know if it was when I was younger, my brother was a Boy Scout and I just wanted to be cool like him and do this outdoor stuff. I don't know if it was something deeper within me, but I begged everyone to keep going. Like, I needed to finish this goal that I set out to do, and everyone agreed. So we start going, and I'm filled with so much adrenaline that I'm in the front plowing through the snow, and after about 8 hours, I finally see the yurt in the distance, and I start crying tears of joy, and I announce to everyone that we made it. And then I get closer, and I see a giant lock on the door, and I then ask, guys, what's the code? And they're like, what code? And I start crying again, and we're trying to sit there figuring out the code, and then all of a sudden Joe conveniently pulls out a giant machete, and we just hit it over and over again until we can finally break in. And the minute I stepped in, all my adrenaline wore off, and I was just left with body pain. I took off my shoes, and my toes were black and blue from all the ice and the snow, and my shoulders were raw and bleeding from the friction of my backpack. And I had these muscle spasms in my chest that didn't leave for months later. But we got there, and we were safe, and that's all that mattered. Now, a few days pass, and we finally start heading back to the trailhead. And I remember something Sabrina told me early on. She said that snow tells a different story than other ground does. And I didn't know what this meant at all, but I started walking back to the front, and I saw, like, the miles of footprints and the shelter we made, and it was still there after a few days had passed. And if this was just dirt or concrete or something else, it wouldn't be there. And seeing this really put everything into perspective for me. This was all about my perseverance, and that physical remain there kind of signified that to me. And it really helped me visualize how I want to live the rest of my life, which is fully, authentically, and just living it for me. Yeah, thank you.
One more time for Christina. I don't think we can ever underestimate the power of crying. I love to cry. I do it in my car. You actually burn calories. I looked it up. No? Okay, just me. All right. What about you?
You got to keep it out.
Yeah,
Just let it go.
get it out.
Just
Better
get
out
it
than in.
Yeah.
I think that's what Shrek meant.
Way better, yeah.
Yeah.
Something about onions there, too.
Yeah, something. Irrelevant. All right.
Next storyteller is Kristy Ward, and she's telling us about a story with a call coming from within the house.
Please welcome to the stage Kristy Ward.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here instead of watching the game. You're not really supporting us, are you? Just kidding. So, I created an organization called Menopause Mijas, and our mission is, thank you, to educate, advocate, and empower women through midlife. And that is how I got dubbed the Menopause Queen. Before you think that's fancy or anything, that comes with a crown. No, it doesn't. It comes with hot flashes, brain fog, and then some, right? So I have to think back, and it probably all started when I was around 36. I'm 46 now. You thought I was 21, I know. So I'm 46 now. Thinking back on it, it probably started around when I was 36. Shoulder pain, body aches. I just wasn't connecting it all, though. I didn't know, because we're not educated on that. So also, I didn't have the telltale sign to help me out. I had my partial hysterectomy when I was 29. So it's not like I had my uterus sending me monthly newsletters saying, Mija, something might be wrong. So yeah, I don't have periods for 17 years. It's amazing. Right, babe? Okay. So yeah. Fast forward a few years back, I'm 44. We are the caregivers for my grandma, and she's lived with us on and off for over 10 years. She's in her 90s. She got diagnosed with dementia. If you've ever been a caregiver before, you know how difficult that is. And so I also had a leadership position at a nonprofit. And if you've ever worked for a nonprofit, you know you wear multiple hats. So I had a lot. I was juggling a lot. On top of that, my adult children, navigating their adulthood, and I'm still mothering them. Financial struggles, because HEB doesn't take passion for payment. So, it's hard out there. And so those are all the triggers. And little did I know what I was going through was depression. I had 2 anxiety attacks, which I thought were heart attacks. Went to the urgent care twice. My chest was tight, lightheadedness, blood pressure was up. I never had trouble with this. Nothing changed in my diet. I thought literally I was dying. Like, what the hell is happening? What the fuck is going on? Because I just felt like I wasn't myself. And now I get when women say that, like, I just don't feel like myself. I get it now. And all the while, I want to shout out to my husband because he supported me. And there's a difference between putting up with us and supporting us. So shout out to all the partners who support their significant other. Thank you. Well, thank you. And I was a mess, y'all. I was so mean. I didn't want him to touch me. I only wanted to be touched when I wanted to be touched. He just tried being loving, and I was like, get away. So, all that's going on. And just to give you a little context, I never suffered through depression before. Growing up, I was sexually abused, physically abused, and still, I was a happy person. I never let that get in the way of me being happy. So for me to feel this depression, I thought, this is so weird. What is going on? I mean, I know the world is hard right now. Like, shit's crazy, right? But this was different. I didn't want to get up. I was so sad. I was always a happy-go-lucky person, cup half full. And so I knew something was wrong. Something was wrong. And so one day, I'm looking at a TikTok, and it's Dr. Mary Claire Haver being interviewed by Tamsin Fadell. Now, NBA fans, Dr. Mary Claire Haver is like the Michael Jordan of midlife. And little did I know when I'm watching that, and I got diagnosed just by watching a TikTok. So TikTok's not a waste of time, guys. So I got diagnosed. I diagnosed myself. Everything she was talking about, I was like, that's what I have. That's what's going on. Okay? And so rewind before me knowing this, I had already had 3 appointments with 3 different doctors begging to be diagnosed because if it wasn't that, then seriously something was wrong. I was almost about to go see a cardiologist because I was having heart palpitations. I mean, the works, almost passing out. I'll tell you one of the craziest stories. What happened at one of the doctors. Legs were in the stirrups, open. He's, behind the blanket, popping his head up every now and then, talking to me. And I'm like, can we check to see if I may be, going through the change? We call it cougar puberty because it sounds super cool. And my husband's 10 years younger, so I am a cougar. And so he's like, oh, okay, we can do some blood work. And then he's in there looking around, pops his head open, slaps my inner thigh and says, "Oh no, you're still pink down there, you're good." So my vagina passed the midlife test, but my body's not. I'm like, I need a new nervous system then, because something's going on. And y'all, I wasn't educated. And I heard some gasps in the crowd, right? Sickening. I wasn't educated, so I didn't say anything. I just got in the car, called my husband, was crying like a delirious, crazy woman, saying, "I just don't know what's wrong with me." Because I wasn't being validated. I wasn't being heard. And you know, these doctors, they're not educated themselves. They get less than 6 hours of midlife, menopause training in school. So, you know, there's that. And so that was devastating for me. And now that I've educated myself, I became a certified menopause health coach because I was taking a walk one day and I thought, it shouldn't be like this for us. It shouldn't. So I stood on business and I made it my mission to help other women not experience what I did. And it's all fun sometimes, right? It's funny, all the changes we go through. Men, y'all go through it too, just so you know. And it shouldn't be like that. And so here we are educating our own providers. And then when we have leadership roles with, you know, our work, it becomes even harder. There's so many women that quit their job. So many women think, okay, well, maybe I'm just getting old. Maybe I just can't do this anymore. Maybe this is just not for me. So they quit. And if they don't quit, they get fired. And it kind of happened to me. I was trying to quit. I was trying to find another job, but my work did it for me. They're like, you got to go. I had filled out ADA paperwork because I learned that the symptoms of perimenopause and menopause qualify for ADA and FMLA. So if you didn't know, now you know. And still, I got let go. So I make it a mission to not just educate women, but educate employers on how to retain your good employees. You don't have to let them go just because they don't know what the fuck they're doing anymore. We got to get on meds, right? We got to get, not meds, but hormone replacements. And I don't want women being misdiagnosed, dismissed, or gaslit. It's done. We're done with that. We have to be louder. Thank you. So little did I know that midlife would bring me passion that, you know, I never thought I would be doing. But here I am, the menopause queen, teaching women how to advocate for themselves, track their symptoms, and be a bad bitch.
How about that doctor?
Yeah. That is a queen.
What? Can I get that doctor's name? Just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, did you know you're going to go through menopause? It's got men in it.
I'll spread my legs if it teaches me something.
Yeah. We're going to get him diagnosed. We're going to see if he's still pink down there. Okay. No, is that too? Okay.
I'm down.
One more, yeah. One more time for Kristy, dude. That's a lot. Let's go. Our next storyteller is McKenzie Stewart. McKenzie, yeah, give it up for McKenzie. McKenzie is going to share a story about wearing multiple hats, but realizing her strength may not lie in security.
Let's clap again for McKenzie Stewart.
I got my start in service years ago working for a small family restaurant. So small that my mom was my manager and my grandpa and cousin were handymen for the company. So whenever we would have Christmas parties, it was always just my family hanging out. When I moved to San Antonio years ago, I decided I wanted a similar setup to that. So I bounced around for a couple years from service job to service job until I found my perfect fit. And so this is the restaurant that I'm at right now, and I love it very much. It's 8 people on staff, kind of rotates in and out for 4 days of service, and we have 2 owners who are super involved. And we're all really close. It's wonderful. It's great. But there are disadvantages to working for such a small company. You learn how to wear many hats very quickly. So in my time there, I've been server, hostess, bartender, manager, DJ, event coordinator, florist, handyman. There's a lot of them. But the one that I am the worst at is security. So there was this one night. It was a busy Friday. We were ramping down after a long night of service. And I'm at the pass, folding silverware into rollies. And I look over, and there's a gentleman walking through the front door. Now, our restaurant is very small. It's about the size of this room, which includes some offices, kitchen, restroom, walk-ins, dry stock, all of that. So very, very small. He walks through the front door, straight into the dining room section, and I look him up and down, and I'm like, okay. He looks a little bit disheveled. He's got a beanie on. He's got long hair. He's wearing a ratty old t-shirt and a hoodie that's like super distressed. Notably, he's also wearing pajama pants. Now, the restaurant that I work for isn't fine dining, but like it's not a pajama pants type of place. So I was like, that's very interesting. But if you know the people that I work with or our owners, we all keep eccentric company. So I was like, okay, maybe this is like a friend. So I go up and I talk to him. We're talking. And he's really nice and he's really well spoken and like super polite. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. He notes that he's looking for one of our owners, that he's an old friend and that he just wants to catch up. He hasn't seen him in years. There's life events going on and he just wants to chat. And at this time, we had just opened up a second restaurant and we were doing a lot of word of mouth marketing at the time, trying to push people towards that other restaurant. So that owner that he was looking for was over there. So it's like, oh my gosh, yes, perfect. Okay. I gave the whole spiel. Was like, all right, this is the spot. He's over there. You should go and hang out. And he's like, oh my gosh, yes, I've actually been meaning to check it out. Super great. Like, I'm really excited. I'm going to head over there now. I was like, oh, perfect. Great. So I turn around and I walk back to the pass, continuing folding my rollies. I don't watch him leave. And I notice that all of my coworkers are gone. They're nowhere to be seen. I look around. Normally they're like buzzing around the room, talking to customers, pouring drinks, rolling silverware, running food, but they're not there. I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. And I go back to rolling my silverware. And I look over at the door, and this gentleman is back at the door standing there. And I'm like, oh, weird. So I head over and I check on him again. He's like, oh, yeah, I don't have my car, so I'm going to walk there, but my phone's almost dead, so can you give me directions? And if you know me in real life, you know I am horrible at directions. It's so bad. Like, I'll be heading somewhere, and my friends are all watching my location, and I'm just, like, driving in circles. So I give him this disclaimer, and I pull up my phone, and I'm like, all right, so you're here and you're going to go here. You're going to go down this road. Here's a shortcut. Why did I know that? I don't know. And so he's looking at me. We're like going over everything. And I'm like, all right, when you get to this building, it's going to look exactly like this. This is where you need to be. Give him a great description. And he's like, oh, you're so polite. You're so like helpful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And so he goes to leave again. I don't watch him leave again. I go back to the pass and I'm making my rollies again. And I look over and our front of house manager is peeking around the corner. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. So I walk over and I check on him. And he looks very pale and he's like, what did you tell him? And I was like, oh, he was looking for the owner. Like, just sent him to the location, like old friends. They're just trying to catch up. And he freaks out and he like, oh my God, I need to call him. And he goes off to the office. I'm like, okay. It's kind of weird, but I try to go about my business. My other coworker comes up to me and she was like, why were you talking to that man? And I was like, he was really nice. Like, I don't know. Like, he was cool. I don't know. You guys are like kind of being mean. She looks me dead in the face and she goes, McKenzie, that man had a knife tucked into his pajama pants. And I was like, oh my God. My heart dropped. I felt so bad. But yeah, like I was looking at him in the face the whole time. Like I was trying to have a polite conversation. Like I was making eye contact and they were like, you didn't look down? I was like, I'm sorry. I was being polite. So he obviously was headed towards the other location with a knife. So we called the police. We called the man that he was after and let him know the situation. And the police were called. They patrolled everything. Nothing really came of it. We had some friends who were actually in security who went down to the restaurant to like hang out and make sure my boss didn't get stabbed to death. So yeah, nothing really ever came of it. Luckily, that is the only time I've ever really had to play security. Thank God for all of my coworkers. But I found over the years that I have been I've just grown into so many other roles. I don't really have to carry that out anymore. And I thank my bosses and my coworkers for just like giving me the space to just like learn about myself, learn the job. And it's been wonderful. It's been great. And yeah, if you have a strange gentleman walk into your establishment, maybe look him over once or twice.
I think if anything, she gave like customer service to everyone, knife or not. So I think you really yeah.
Yeah. If I were to show up with a knife, I would be welcomed, I think.
Yeah. And also, shout out to his pajama pants for holding a knife.
Yeah.
That's pretty strong.
I hope they had a Scooby-Doo on them or something. Something fun.
Yeah. Is it Walmart? Yeah. They don't come with pockets, is what I'm saying. Okay.
Next, we have Brendon. We like to call him Potter. And like Harry, he kind of takes chances on himself and bets on himself.
That's right. Welcome to the stage, Brendon Potter.
How y'all doing tonight? You guys having a good time? Yeah, thank you guys for coming out. You guys could be watching Wemby throw some elbows right now, and instead you guys are here. Thank you. You guys should not have come to see me. I came here to thank you, Tori. I came here tonight to speak about standing on business, and I've been struggling for like a few weeks to figure out what that means to me, and just what like business is to me, and where my relationship with business started. I think my relationship with business started when I was 20 years old. I was freshly married, like we all were at 20, right? And I got married, and my wife had a career, and I did not. I worked at a call center in Arizona. She made more than me the first year, and the competitive part of me was like, I don't like this. I don't like that. How do I make more money? So I decided to apply for like HR within the company that I worked for so I could advance through that company. And I got turned down. No, nobody's surprised. Okay. Yeah, all right. So, that's fine. I got turned down. My buddy actually got the job, and he would tell me these like very depressing statistics. This one time he was like, do you know the turnover here is like 7.5 months? And I had been there for 1.5 years. And I was like, damn, all right, it's time to get a new job. All right. So I very quickly lined up a job in Texas. Yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah. I love Texas. I moved here from Arizona, which, like, side note, I love, because nobody says, like, don't Arizona my Texas. Nobody cares. If you come here from Arizona, they're like, thank you. You got away just in time. So I moved here from Arizona, and I took a job doing PDR. And nobody knows what PDR is. It's called paintless dent repair. And when you explain that to people, they still don't know what that means. It's nice. It's very frustrating. So I have to tell people, like, I do dents. And they're like, you dance? And I'm like, don't tell people that. You're not allowed to tell people that. I don't dance. I do dents. I take dents out of cars. So I moved here to learn how to do that. And it's been a good thing for me, man. When I took this job here in Texas, they asked me, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I was asked that at the job before I came here. And I always think about Mitch Hedberg. I don't know if you guys know the comedian Mitch Hedberg. Yeah, he has this bit all about how, like, they asked him, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And he's, like, celebrating the 5-year anniversary of you asking me that question. I was, like, the exact opposite. I was like, I'm going to be sitting in your chair. Give me that chair. You know what I mean? Like, let's double it. Give me 10 years. I'm going to be sitting in that chair. So if they would have asked me right when I took that job doing PDR, like, where do you see yourself in 10 years? I would have been like, I'm sitting in your chair. So I let 10 years go by, and I worked my ass off to become a good dent guy, dude. I don't know if you guys could tell by my tan. The skin cancer means I'm working outside a lot. I get a lot of cars. I don't get to be in buildings like this. Yeah. So I took a job, and at about the 10-year mark, right on the dot, I decided, you know what? I would like to go in and ask for a raise. I feel like I deserve it. So I went in, and I was on the way driving there, and I thought it was such a given that I was going to get this raise that until about 4 minutes before I got to the restaurant, I was like, wait, what if they say no, you know? So I was like, okay, well, I started going through my head. Okay, well, what do they do if they say no? I can't just show up on Monday and be like, yeah, that was a good call. Good thing you guys didn't give me more money. I'm glad you guys, that was a great call, guys. So I took the stand that I had to stand on business, that I had to go by my principle, and that when I fixed a car, I deserved X amount of a car that I would fix. Thank you, ma'am. She fixes cars, yes. Yeah, I know, I'm sorry. Yeah. But I had to take that stand. Now, the way that it worked for me when I made that decision was that the only market available to me to work in to get that extra percentage was Corpus Christi. Hey, yeah, thank you. Okay, yeah, Tori was like, do not shit on Corpus Christi, okay? You will turn off this crowd. Now, the only place that I had to work at was Corpus Christi. And so I decided to get that extra percentage. I would drive every day from New Braunfels to Corpus Christi. Yeah, people look at me like my mental health is really, you know. As a side note, Tori was like, can you tell me about that first drive? And I'm like, I cried the whole way there. I cried the whole way back. It was 5 hours of crying. She asked me like what I do on my drives. I used to listen to music every day. I don't know if you guys know this, but I can only listen to an album so many times in a row. So I started listening like podcasts, and then I started to listen to audiobooks, and I found out this really cool thing about books. If you tell people that you listen to 100 books in a year, they're like, oh my God, that's so inspirational, you know? If you tell them that you listen to 329 in a year, they're like, you need to get a therapist, you know? You need some help. So I started driving down to Corpus every day, and I decided that that's how I would make that extra percentage. I only had to do that for so long, and I did it, everybody! Hell yes! Thank you. It sucked. It sucked so much. Yeah, thank you. No, so I started driving down there. The first dealership that I picked up down in Corpus, I picked up the BMW of Corpus Christi. I picked up the Mercedes. I picked up the Infiniti. Yeah, thank you. She owns a Mercedes. Oh, yeah. No, and I really decided to stand on business. Now, when I started driving down there and I started like really just going through the motions of like, all right, this is how I'm going to make this money. Like I said, I cried the whole way down there. I was like, I thought I had friends, you know? So I set up my business and everything was going well. And it wasn't until very recently that I decided that I would take a step back. And instead of, so I only had to go there for 2 years, right? And I actually went down there for 5 years because everybody down there took care of me. All y'all Corpus people, Corpus is lovely. I was about to curse. Corpus is lovely. They took care of me for like 5 years. And finally, about 3 months ago, I had to go in and be like, look, my van has like 370,000 miles on it. My mental health is not doing good, guy. I can only listen to so many audiobooks a year. And so I had to take a stand on business and just tell everybody down there, like, look, I can't come down here anymore and I can't fix your dance. Thank you, yeah. So, thank you. All right, let me wrap this up here. And so I took a stand and I started working back here and I've been picking up business. It's been great. What I'm trying to get through with all of this is to tell everybody that you should take a stand on your business. If you think that your business is worth standing on, you should bet on yourself. Thank you. I didn't mean for that to be funny. That was nice. All right, thank you very much. My name is Brendon Potter.
All right. Drink every time he stood standing on business. One more time for Potter.
Also, everybody look under your car, under your chair. You got a brand new car.
No cars
with
in the
a dent.
chair. Yeah.
It's got a dent in it.
You know, when Potter first told me that he was quitting, he said it was because of something I told him. And I think about that a lot because it's so funny. Why would you listen to me? I'm sorry. Yeah. But you should know your worth, everyone. Okay. All right. We're going to get back into it. Are you ready?
Yeah, our next storyteller is Jamie Gonzalez. She's talking about a story about, striking out on her own. And even when people disagreed with her, she still went for it.
All right. Let's help me welcome Jamie Gonzalez.
It's going to go all the way down. Well, almost. There we go. 2018 was one of the years that I almost died. I don't mean that metaphorically. For years, I'd indulged all of the vices that come along with being in the food industry, the drinks, the drugs, the things that we tell ourselves to make it through another day. I equated exhaustion with success. And I wasn't being very good to myself or my family or my business or my friends. And in 2018, I broke my neck. And when I broke my neck, everything else broke after that. I lost my business. I lost my home. I nearly lost my family. And losing my business was not the hardest part of this. It was losing myself in that process. And I spent the next year trying to rebuild myself, mourning the loss of myself, and building myself into what I have become today. You see, I've been in the produce industry for a very, very long time. I grew up in produce. In fact, I could talk about tomatoes more than anybody would ever want to hear. I brokered my first truckload of tomatoes to Wendy's when I was 20 years old. I could talk about carrots for at least an hour. Don't even get me started about the politics of avocados. It's in depth, And so I'd done all of those things. And food isn't the only thing that I know how to do, but it's the thing that I love most. Feeding people was the thing that I love most. And I found myself lost in that world of not knowing where I belonged anymore. I was never a traditional chef. I don't look like the average produce distributor. I have had my foot in all of the worlds. I have sold produce to the government, to Wendy's, to Whataburger. I built food items that are in 48 states in almost every grocery store that you can think of. And I've sold produce to the Jasons and the Johnnies and the Andrew Weissmans of San Antonio. I get around. And at the end of that year, that really was that moment for me of who am I and what am I supposed to be doing? And the puta de la fruta was born. Because I get around. And then COVID hit. And I was playing with this funny little name, and the industry shut down overnight. Restaurants closed, caterers closed. I found myself sitting at a table back at the produce company where I started from, that I'd been helping build since I was a child, that sometimes I wasn't in agreement with, but there I was, figuring out what we were going to do next. And in that moment, I decided to build a box of produce. Doing that and understanding what happened then, you also have to understand what happens in the restaurant industry. When restaurants close, it's not just the restaurant that suffers. It's not just the chef that doesn't have a job anymore. It's not just the line or the back of the house or the front of the house. It's the warehouse workers. It's the truck drivers. It's the people that are responsible for moving food across your community, across your city, across your state, every single day. We suffer. That's who suffers. The essential workers suffer. And during COVID, those were the essential workers. And all of us were struggling for a place, for an opportunity. And in that moment, the government, in its infinite wisdom, developed a program through the USDA called the Farmer to Family Food Box Program. Now, some of you here may have heard of this program before. It was a very popular program at one point. The US government created a program that was supposed to save farmers, it was supposed to save people, it was supposed to save distributors who were supposed to pick up excess produce and put it in boxes and dump it into parking lots. And hundreds of millions of dollars started flowing across the country almost instantly. And those of us that are in food distribution, we were clamoring for this. And not just distributors, but a variety of people. And small businesses like mine, we bid on those contracts. We submitted proposals for how we would want to feed people. Now, my company didn't win in that first round, but a local event planner did. And he won a contract for $31 million to build produce boxes and distribute them across Texas, or mixed food boxes. When that happened, this gentleman and his organization, they had no infrastructure, they had no means of distribution, they had no transportation, they had no licensing, they had no money. And then they knocked on my door. Very small local produce company asking for the produce lady to help create and build these boxes. And in the same breath, this tiny, arrogant, pompous little man sat there and asked me for $1 million in credit. Now I have to tell you, I've sold everything. I've sold credit cards and bras and jeans. I've sold insurance. I sell peace of mind. I sell ideas in my head to people every single day. So when he asked me for $1 million in credit with no money, no licensing, no infrastructure, and equated food distribution to being the same thing as building a swag bag for a wedding, I did what any logical person would do. I flipped the table and I told him to fuck off. And I walked out of that room and I never turned back. And in that time, I was a little worried. I got to tell you, when you've lost everything before, you do sometimes struggle with that moment of knowing that fear is often disguised as opportunity, and opportunity is often clouded by fear. But I knew I was supposed to say no to this. And then I was ostracized. And many of my friends in the chef community, they shied away from me for a number of years. I was told that I was crazy for what I was doing. People in the industry thought that I was making the worst business choice of my life. This little man told me that I was stupid for telling him no. Yet I just knew that this wasn't the right way to do this. People deserve better. Communities deserve better in that moment than a fear-based display of charity that is only meant for a small few people to line their pockets with. We deserve consistency, we deserve quality, we deserve programs that actually feed us and feed our community and give us the opportunity to feed ourselves, and not just a line item into distribution. And so when I said no, it was the basis for everything that I've done since. And in that year after that, instead of embracing that program, I created my own food box program. I distributed 25,000 boxes in that first year. Quietly, with no fanfare, produce to the people, being the thing that I knew how to be. This has allowed me to do so much more. And the people that laughed at me, the naysayers, the $31 million millionaires, received very, very little of the money that they were promised, distributed and delivered very few boxes, and continue to be in litigation with each other and investigated by the federal government. Jamie, on the other hand, is now the produce lady. Everybody's favorite puta de la fruta. Because I get around. And since then, I've been able to work with over 50 different organizations to distribute more than 5 million pounds of produce. With produce education, home delivery produce boxes, traveling produce markets. It wasn't the no that got me to the yes. And at the end of that program, the USDA, ironically, interviewed me so that we could talk about how programs like this look amazing on paper, but are often not great for community and practice. Thank you.
I enjoy cursing, so I love that it's a positive way to say puta. So give it up for fruta de la puta.
You are the tallest short person I know.
Exactly.
Up here.
And that little man is probably mad because he's a piñata now. So, all right. You ready? Let's go. Our next storyteller is Louis Singh. Louis is going to share a story about a night he slept a little too hard thanks to Benadryl.
Yeah, don't sleep on Louis Singh.
Hello. Wow. Y'all are beautiful. Tori promised a beautiful, welcoming crowd, so this is good. I feel safe. I feel safe. So this is way outside the norm for me in left field, and I'm going to stop looking around so much. But my day-to-day is restaurants. I work in a restaurant. I own a restaurant. I started with my high school buddies here in San Antonio. It's called Singh's Vietnamese. And oh, dang. People I paid in gift cards are here, but where was I? So what do you need to know? We started in 2012 in a food truck, and we had the bright idea to put an Indian-named food truck, an Indian-named Vietnamese food truck outside of a biker bar full of Vietnam vets. So what could go wrong, right? But it turns out everything could go wrong. And it did. But we pushed through, we persevered, thanks to our team, my partners, my family, my wife who's here somewhere. I'm not gonna look because I will get extremely nervous. She's very good looking. But yeah, we pushed through and we made it. In 2018, we opened a brick and mortar restaurant on a little street called St. Mary's. Yeah, it's also named the Strip for a reason. It's a short little run of honky tonks and hootenanny, you know, and that's where this story takes place. So it's July 4th, 2021. It's the opening of the lockdown from COVID. And so it's the first weekend everybody's out and about. And this is the tale that everybody knows. It's the night that a car slammed into our restaurant and parked itself into our dining room. Yeah. And the weird, peculiar thing about that night is that I had allergies and I couldn't breathe. It was weird. So that evening, I went home and I took a Benadryl, which I never do because, I mean, you might as well slip me a Mickey in my Shirley Temple because, man, they kill me. I was out. So that was probably about 7 o'clock. I take the Benadryl, pass out. I wake up probably about 3:30, 4 in the morning. Check my phone. I'm like 62 messages on my phone. Yeah, I had the same reaction on my couch. Oh, I was like, this cannot be good. I mean, for a split second, I was like, did they give out James Beards Awards in the middle of the night? But I was like, nah. I'm not that kind of chef anymore. But so I checked the security camera. Yep, there's the car in our dining room. I see the cops getting the guy out of the car. I see everybody out there. Everybody's like, get down here, Louis. And, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I did. I feel like what any responsible person would do, and I went back to sleep. So I still couldn't breathe. So I was like, what am I going to do? I'm going to go down there. I can't breathe. But so I slept for like another hour. The Benadryl really kicked in at that point. And so I show up probably about 5:30 in the morning, looking at the broken facade of the restaurant. I'm trying to figure it out. And I see this strange thing. One of our chairs is upright with a 6-pack of beer and 2 missing about 5:45 in the morning. So I was like, I know who this is, actually. It's our self-proclaimed property manager who shall go unnamed, but rhymes with Smalix. So another weird thing, I walk in, and the bar, our front counter where you order, I mean, the car literally came an inch from that counter, and there's like tire marks in the restaurant still to this day, and our alarm pad is at my feet, and I'm looking down at it. It's normally behind the wall a good 8 feet away, and I'm looking at the alarm pad, like, did this pop off the wall when the car hit? I was like, I took physics 1 and 2, but can't explain this one. And as I'm looking down on it with the strewn wires, I hear this voice. Smalix is a close talker, so he says, well, if you would give me the alarm code, I could have turned it off that way. And so, yeah, a little bit about Smalix here is, I think he was born a drill sergeant. You know, I think he actually marched out of the womb and like got a cigar from the doctor and sat down and got a crew cut, you know. So he's barking orders at me already while I'm trying to process. And he's like, and I come to and he's like, Home Depot, go to Home Depot now. Get me 8 4x8s, 24 2x4s, 6 packs of decking screws, and a huge pack of paper towels. Not the generic stuff, Brawny, the quicker picker upper. And so I'm like impressed, honestly. I'm like, this guy has got a plan. I walk to the back of the restaurant, he's following me, and I'm like, well, I have towels, Smalix, we have towels. And he's like, no, get Brawny. How many times do I have to say it? I was like, let me hear it one more time. But so I walk out to the back parking lot. He follows me out there. He's still yelling at me in my ear, literally like this close. He's a sprayer, not a sayer. And so I'm dodging this stuff, and I have this weird moment, like where he kind of like mutes down, and I'm thinking like, why is he so angry? Like, why are you so angry? What happened? You know? And like, then I think, why am I not angry? I'm like, why am I not angry? This is my restaurant. And then I started to get angry that I'm not angry, and I almost start to match his intensity. And then I just go back to like, God, yes, I feel so sorry for this dude. Like, he cares. He obviously cares, right? And then I have this weird vision of like his anger and my empathy on a seesaw on a playground. And like his anger, you know, is the big bad bully, like holding empathy down in the air. And I'm trying to like wait for empathy to gain some strength and muster and push it down and balance this thing out so I can have some harmony in this moment in my life. And I'm like, wait a minute, it's a seesaw. Seesaws are about like push and pull and trying to launch the other kid off the other side. And so it was a weird thought. I was like, I guess let me sit in this anger with him for a second, and let's like both look up and hold empathy up, right? Because if we both are just this husky, angry kid, then empathy gets to sit up there in the air for everybody to see, you know? And so I come back to, and he's like, Brawny, the quicker picker upper. And can't make this stuff up. But and I think he knows that I'm not paying attention. I'm looking at him in the eyes, but I'm not listening. And he looks at me, and he finally stops barking, and he's like, I'm going to Home Depot. And he gets in his truck, and he pulls the most beautiful donut I have ever seen in our tiny parking lot and squeals out of the street. And yeah, we got the restaurant open the next day. So thank you, guys. Yeah, that's all I got.
The quicker picker upper.
Hardly even know her.
I love that story. And for those of you that happened. That was the third time that someone had crashed into his restaurant. Why? I'm the only one laughing. Okay, but
I'm not laughing because I was there all 3 times.
he was the guy. We got him.
Up next, our next storyteller, Marie Emshoff. She's a lover of animals and specifically cats, but this one she's talking about is real mean.
Yeah. Please welcome to the stage Marie Emshoff. Did I say it right? No, I don't think I did.
Okay, Anne is just fine. I joined the Army right after veterinary school. 2 years later, I found myself as the military veterinarian for a large military base just outside Tokyo. It was a pretty big job. Not only did I treat the military working dogs on that base, I treated the animals of privately owned animals of military members there and also at a nearby Army post, as well as the pets of State Department personnel, other U.S. government personnel, and a whole lot of people that decided to just stay in Japan after retirement. Well, one such older couple lived in Tokyo near the embassy. And they would show up every few months with an orange, fluffy female cat. This cat was the meanest, scariest cat I have ever worked with. When I was in veterinary school, I used to take care of a lioness. I was way more scared of this cat. So initially, they would bring the cat in a carrier into the clinic, and one of my technicians would get on elbow-high leather gloves to hold the cat while I quickly looked at it and gave it some injections and a brief exam. But that got too scary. So by the second year I was there, they would bring up, someone would alert me that they were in the parking lot. I would go out to the car, glance at the cat, and quickly give shots and then run back in the clinic. Now, every time they came, I noticed the cat had only one eye. They told me the right eye had been removed due to glaucoma. I looked at the other eye, and the eye was bulging, and I suspected glaucoma in the other eye as well. So every time they came, I said to them, I think we need to reevaluate this left eye for glaucoma, and it may need to be removed as well. And they said, no, we can't have our cat lose its vision. She needs to see. And I thought, well, looking at that eye, she probably couldn't see very well anyways, but I didn't want to get in an argument with them. So I let it go. And they'd come in time and again. I would tell them that that eye needs to be treated. They would decline, and I'd let it go. And I shouldn't have. So after I was there nearly 3 years, they showed up at the clinic unannounced. The husband runs into the clinic. The wife was still in the car, and he said, please, come see my cat. Something is very, very wrong. She's very upset. So I go to the car, and from a distance, because I was still very scared of this cat, I looked over to the left eye, and I could see something very unusual, but I immediately recognized it. I'd seen it in books, and I'd heard about it, but I'd never seen it in real life. The lens of the cat's eye, that's in the center of the eye, in between the back part, which is called the vitreous humor, which is like jelly, and the front part, which is called the aqueous humor, which is like watery. The lens sits right in the middle. When pressure increases so much from the back of the eye to the front, that lens will literally pop out from its attachments and fall forward. So looking at this cat's eye, you can see like a half moon shape in front, and that was the lens. It was immediately recognizable. So I told the owners of this kitty, it's time. We have to remove this eye. This is painful for your cat. And they said, no, our cat has to have an eye. And I said, the treatment for this is removal of the eye. We can do this as soon as tomorrow morning. Please let me do it. And they said, no, there must be another way. Well, this is the 90s, and veterinary specialists were few and far between, and I didn't know any in Japan. And I said the only alternative would be to remove the eye itself, such as in cataract surgery. And they said, do that. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. I said, you need to go to the ophthalmology professor in Tokyo and ask him to do that. And they said, no. We want to see you, and we want you to do this. And I was taken aback. I didn't know what to say. And I said, tell you what, I'll make a deal with you. I will try. I will try to do the cataract surgery on your cat, but if I fail, I'm going to remove the eye. Is that okay with you? And they said, okay. So I took a big sigh of relief, thinking, okay, I'm off the hook. I mean, I can't lose, right? I know how to remove an eye. So I told them, take your kitty home and bring her back tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. and don't feed her anything after 8. So I go to my office, I take my ophthalmology textbook off the shelf, I take it in my car, and I drive back home, stopping by the hospital on the way to hopefully get some suture and whatever else I can pilfer off the human doctors. So I got some teeny tiny suture. It's really, really small because I have to sew the actual eye itself, and that's going to stay with the cat. So I go home, I eat a little bit of dinner, and I look over the textbook. And it's great. So the textbook describes exactly how to do it step by step, like anybody can do it. And it has pictures, and it tells you it's like a recipe. It even tells you what instruments to use. So I had pretty much everything except for a lens loop. I didn't have anything like that. I didn't know what that was. So I looked at the picture of the lens loop, and it looked a lot like an iced teaspoon. Well, I love iced tea, so I have iced teaspoons. So I go in my kitchen, I pull out a nice teaspoon, and I put that in my work bag along with my textbook, and I go to work the next day. So I go to work. I get to work at 7:30. It's the Army. And I open my textbook to the page with all the diagrams, and I set it on the instrument table next to the surgery table. And I give my technician the iced teaspoon to autoclave. 8 o'clock comes around, they show up with the cat. The cat's in a carrier. So we bring the cat in the carrier in. And now I have to decide how I'm going to get this mean as hell cat out of that carrier without hurting anyone. So I look in the closet, and we've often had to deal with really, really mean dogs. So we had what's called a pole syringe. So it's a long pole, and you put the syringe on the end of it. I put the syringe and a whole lot of anesthetic in there. And I went through the bars of the cage and poked the cat in the thigh. 20 minutes later, the cat appeared to be still. So we carefully pulled the cat out, put the cat on the table, and cut all its nails real short. I had the technicians prep the cat, put the cat under general anesthesia, and I got started. So I got started. I made an incision at the top of the eye with a teeny tiny scalpel blade. And I took my iced teaspoon in there to grab the lozenge-like lens out. I'm grabbing it. Now, an iced teaspoon is a little bit bigger than a lens loop. And as I pulled, I got stuck and dropped it. So I took a deep breath. I took that iced teaspoon and went right back in there, and I'm pulling up, and all the aqueous humor comes out, and the eye deflates. As I'm pulling it out, I nicked a blood vessel, and the eye filled with blood. So I'm really freaking out here. So I knock the lens onto the instrument table and get to sewing the eye back up. So I sew the eye itself, and then I sew the eyelid closed. The good thing is people never see what's underneath those sutures. So we take the cat while it's still asleep, put it back in its carrier for the owners to pick up, because we don't want to deal with this cat anymore. So it's in the carrier. They come back to pick it up. They come in, and I notice the cat already seems pretty comfortable. And I said, bring the cat back in 1 week. Okay, we're going to take those sutures out of the eyelid that's working like a patch and see if this worked, because we might still have to remove that eye. So they came back a week later, and they brought the carrier in and placed it on a table. And I'm like, how am I going to get that cat out of there? Because I got to get right next to its eye. So I looked at that cat, and it's purring. It's not making any loud meows. It's not pawing at the cage. So I unlatched the cage, and I looked straight at the cat. It looks fine. So I decided to put my bare hands in there and pull her out of the cage. She was fine. She was still purring. I had my sergeant come over and put a hand on her, and I took out each suture out of the eyelid. Her eye opened, and it looked great. And she was now a nice cat. She was never a mean cat. That cat had been in pain for a long time. So, a very happy cat now.
You guys are so cute. All the ahs.
I did, after hearing that story, consult a bunch of cats. And
Yeah.
they just call it a rack.
Yeah. Poor babies. The deflating of the eye, though. I was like, what's it look like? And I made her describe it. And watching your faces was everything to me. Yeah. Hey, this has been worth repeating, standing on business.